I will celebrate each goal I accomplish with gratitude and joy. I choose to think positively. I choose to think positively and create a wonderful world and successful life for myself. I am grateful that my life is so happy and successful. I can never fail, for everything that happens contributes to me being better. I'm extremely passionate about constantly being better and more successful. I have the courage to create positive change in my life. I acknowledge my own self-worth. My confidence is rising. Every day I will become more confident, powerful, and successful. Feeling confident, assured, and strong is a normal part of my day-to-day life. I am self-reliant, creative, and persistent in whatever I do. I am valuable and will make powerful contributions to the world today. I made decisions based on the superstar I am becoming. I continuously push myself to learn and develop in areas of life that bring me happiness, freedom, and purpose. I am the difference that will make the difference. I wake up every morning ready for a new day of exciting possibilities. I am happy and free because I am me. I am strong. I am a strong individual who attracts success and happiness. My life is a blast of growing opportunities because I never stop creating. I am energetic and enthusiastic. Confidence is my second nature. I teach others to believe in me because I believe in myself. My actions are intentional and they bring me closer to my goals. I am learning to trust the journey. My mind is clear of self-doubt. I am ready to embrace every challenge that comes my way. I surround myself with people who push me to be my best. I have great ideas and make great contributions. Every challenge I face is an opportunity to grow and improve. I am the architect of my life. I build its foundation and choose its contents. My ability to conquer my challenges is limitless. My potential to succeed is infinite. Today, I abandon my old habits and take up new, positive ones. I am excited about the possibilities that exist for me. I am able to think greater than I feel. I am the difference that will make the difference. I create success with everything I do. My impact starts with myself. My future is unwritten and I have the power to change. I let go of the thoughts that do not serve me. I choose to be the difference that will make the difference in my life. Today, I choose to direct my thoughts. I am inspired, and I breathe life into my goals, my dreams, and my ambitions. Today, I am committed to my purpose. I act on my inspiration. I take the action necessary regardless of how I feel. A great life, it doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. I am responsible for making smart decisions to drive success in my personal and professional life. I am blessed to have everything in my life to make it successful. I believe in myself and my abilities. I am the architect of my fate. I can achieve what I've dreamt for myself. The whole world is full of opportunities for me to succeed and impact. I am full of vitality. My confidence, positive attitude, and self-belief are my biggest assets to take me a step closer to my success. I'm not afraid of failures. I learn from my mistakes and turn failures into favorable results.
The economy is going to change no matter what you want it to do. The weather is going to change. Relationships are going to change. Everything in life is always changing. We don't have to work on change. Change is automatic, but progress is not. So if you want to make real progress, then you really got to look at your life in a different way. You got to say, I got to take control of this process and not just hope it's going to work out like people do who make a resolution.
You have to own your own happiness. Take it away from other people demanding that they make you happy. Your kids are not going to make you happy. Your spouse is not going to make you happy. A big house is not going to make you happy. Own your own happiness and be responsible for doing those things that bring joy into your own heart, independently of life and people and money and all of that stuff. Right. It doesn't necessarily give you a happiness. You have to take responsibility of that peace and that joy that lives inside of your heart and not inside of your stuff.
It's a hunt. It's a pursuit. It's a constant thing. It's going on all the time. And when you're in the middle of it, in motion, that's when you feel your best. But the discomfort of that motion makes people so uneasy that they feel like, well, I'm going to go through this discomfort and then I'm going to get to a place of stillness where it's all going to make sense. Finally, I made it. I'm here to tell you that fucking place doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's not a real place. It's a place that people look to as an inspirational goal, a destination, and that's going to be the thing that you work hard for. You're gonna push until you get to this place, and then it's all going to be worth it. That place is not real. If you have $1 million, you want $1 billion. If you have a big house, you want a bigger house. You have to find out what actually makes you happy, and it's not having all your ducks in a row on paper. It's improvement. It's improvement in the way you manage your mind. It's improvement in the way you manage your emotions.
Don't worry about what needs to be done. Think about who you have to be in order to get it done. And you do this by focusing on all the things that you're grateful for. Focus on what's working in your life rather than fixating on what isn't working. Maybe you're grateful for the person that's lying next to you. Maybe you're thinking of your children. Maybe it's a dog lying on the side of your bed. Maybe you're listening to the birds outside your window. It's the wonderful house you live in. Maybe it's the wonderful organization that you belong to. It doesn't matter what it is. You just feel it with your heart and soul. You build from there and you keep going. Why do I want you to do this? Because gratitude is the most powerful connection you have to your higher self. You always want to start your day connected to this higher self. And when you do, life becomes easier. You don't take things personally. When you're confronted with a challenge, you just look at it for what it's worth. It's a challenge. Everybody's confronted with challenges. And you know that there's something within you that can meet it and overcome it and move forward as a result of it. Tell yourself you're going to enjoy the day. Say it to yourself, you know what, I'm going to enjoy the day. This is going to be a good day. Visualize how you want your life to go. Visualize yourself having fun with your fellow workers, the people you're working for, who are working for you. Doesn't matter. Just visualize yourself achieving the goal. And always find the laughter within you and around you every day of your life. And that should start in the morning before you leave the house. There's humor all around you. We get so caught up in our thought process on what needs to be done, we let all the funny stuff in our lives just pass us by. Another thing that can put you in a great mood every day, do something nice for somebody. Do something nice for somebody. There's nothing that can bounce you back to enjoy the day than that. All these things that I am telling you is giving you a different thought process, a different focus to look at life from a different perspective. But our lives move in the direction of our most dominant thoughts and what we focus on day in and day out. Not only do our lives move in the direction of what we focus on and what we think about, but those very things that we're thinking about and focusing on are moving closer to us. In other words, people, the more you focus on your lack, the more of that you're going to get back. Because people, when you start laughing at a negative, intense, stressful, overwhelming situation like that, your brain is no longer focusing on that negative situation. Your brain could only focus on one thing at a time. Right now, your brain is laughing at something ridiculous that you just did. And even if your brain did go back to that negative situation, which it will do eventually, but guess what? It won't be as overwhelming as it was before because you've calmed your nervous system down to the point where you can control the situation instead of having that situation control you. How to acquire the attitude that you need to succeed on all levels of life while enjoying the process. There within lies the key phrase, my friends, while enjoying the process, because it seems to be something that most of us leave by the wayside. Especially when we're setting out to achieve our goals and we want to accomplish something, we get so caught up that enjoying ourselves becomes secondary.
First, never underestimate your own intelligence, and never overestimate the intelligence of others. Don't sell yourself short. Concentrate on your assets. Discover your superior talents. Remember, it's not the amount of intelligence you have that counts. It's how you use what you've got. Learn to effectively manage your brains instead of worrying about your IQ. Secondly, constantly remind yourself, my attitudes are more important than my intelligence. At work and at home, practice positive attitudes. See the reasons why you can do it, not the reasons why you can't. Put your intelligence to creative, positive use. Find ways to win, not ways to lose. Finally, remember that the ability to think is much more valuable than the ability to memorize facts. Use your mind to create and develop ideas, to seek solutions, to find new and better ways of doing things.
So far, we've talked about belief as a basic ingredient of success, and we've talked about excusitis as a major cause of failure. Now I want to state for you the most important single concept in your plan for personal success. Where success is concerned, people are not measured in inches or pounds or college degrees or family background. They are measured by the size of their thinking. How big we think determines the size of our accomplishments. So what we are going to do now is to enlarge your thinking. The first step in this process is to clear away some of the obstacles to thinking big. One of the first ones is self-deprecation. That is, the tendency to run ourselves down or sell ourselves short. This is a very common failure, and many people condemn themselves to a life of mediocrity by refusing to believe in their own abilities and their own self-worth. But I can prove to you right now, by way of another experiment in your people laboratory, that you are many times more accomplished, smarter, and better than you think you are. Here's the experiment.
First, think of your 3 major assets. These can be anything that you know that you're good at. You may be well organized, or a good listener, or perhaps you're good at creative solutions to everyday problems. Whatever these are, think of 3 positive attributes that you give yourself credit for. Now, considering each asset in turn, one at a time, think of at least 2 people that you know who you consider more successful than yourself, but who you feel do not have that particular asset to the degree that you do. For example, maybe your coworker got a promotion last month, but you didn't. But if you think about it, you're a better problem solver than that person is. Do this process for each of the 3 assets you've chosen. And once you've done that, consider this conclusion. You've just identified at least 6 people who are now more successful than you, and in at least one area, you're better than all of them. So the next time you're selling yourself short, recall this experiment and enlarge your thinking. It's important to keep in mind that there's nothing abstract or mystical about learning to think big. It's a very concrete, practical process, and there are specific things you can do to develop the skill. For example, consider the way you speak. Now, words are the raw materials of thought. When you hear words or read words, your mind automatically converts them into images. And when you're doing the speaking or the writing, you're acting as a kind of projector, in effect showing movies in the minds of others. The pictures that you create will determine the reactions to what you're saying. For example, let's suppose you're in a group of people at work, and the supervisor comes before your group and says, "Well, I'm sorry to say that this project has failed." Now, what's your group going to see from these words? What kind of images will you get? You'll see images of disappointment and defeat, inspired by that word, failed. But now let's suppose the supervisor comes before the group and says, "I've got a new approach here that I really believe will work, and I'd like to get your feedback on it." Now, this is a response that will easily fit the same situation, but the supervisor has not created any negative images. Instead, he's created positive ones. The group feels encouraged. They're ready to try again. By the same token, if the supervisor says, "We've got a problem," then the task ahead looks formidable, maybe even insurmountable. But if instead he says, "We face a challenge," then your mind images are likely to be positive. You've got something to look forward to, something to really sink your teeth into. The point is simply this: big thinkers are specialists in creating positive, forward-looking, optimistic pictures in their own minds and in the minds of others. To think big, we have to use words and phrases that produce big, positive mental images. images. So here are some examples of phrases that create negative, small mental images, followed by phrases that create big, positive ones. Listen to each of these and ask yourself in each case, what mind pictures do I see?
I've tried, but this product just won't sell. The fact is, people don't want it.
So far, I haven't been able to move this product, but I know it's good, and I'm going to find the formula that'll put it across.
I was in that business once, but it failed. Never again.
I went broke the first time, but I learned a lot from it. Now I'm ready to give it another shot.
Well, let's face it. This was over. We're whipped.
This is far from over. Let's keep trying. Hey, I've got a great idea.
Did you notice the difference in the images that those phrases created? Now, listen to the words that you hear around you every day and see if you can perceive the difference between the images created by successful people and the images created by mediocre people. And while you're doing this, start developing your own big thinker's vocabulary. You can do it with these 4 steps. First, use big, positive, cheerful words and phrases to describe how you feel. Remember the cures for health excusitis? When you say, I feel great, you make yourself feel better, and you make others around you feel better too. Say that you feel wonderful at every possible opportunity, and you'll begin to feel better and bigger and more successful. Second, use bright, cheerful, favorable words to describe other people. When you and someone else are discussing a third party who's not present, don't run that person down. Instead, go out of your way to compliment that person with big words and phrases, like, they tell me she's working out fantastically well. Everybody's delighted she's here. Sooner or later, negative words will get back to the person in question, and that will only serve to cut you down. Next, use positive language to encourage others. Compliment people personally at every opportunity. Everyone craves praise. Have a special good word for your wife or husband every day. Notice and compliment the people who work with you and for you. Praise, sincerely administered, is a success tool. It's one we'll discuss more later. Learn to use this tool again and again. Finally, use positive words to outline plans to others. Go back to our list of negative and positive phrases from a few minutes ago. Make the positive images part of your vocabulary and weed out the negative ones. When people hear you say, here's some good news, we've got a genuine opportunity, then you'll get cooperation, enthusiasm, and success in return. But if you say, like it or not, we've got a job to do, then you're creating a dull, boring image, and people will react accordingly. So build castles with your words. Don't dig graves.
So the very first time I hosted the show, we got to the end, and I was to announce the winner of the 2015 Miss Universe pageant. Now, we had rehearsed this all week long. We would announce the second runner-up and then the winner. Second runner-up and then the winner. They changed it. I said, that's the best way to do it. So that night, and all in rehearsal, 2 names on the card. They just put fake names on the card because they don't know. All through rehearsal, 2 names on the card. That night, when it's time to announce the winner, the teleprompter, they handed me the card. I see the 2 names, and I got the card down. The teleprompter, right inside the camera, says, and the new 2015 Miss Universe is, that's what it said. I read that, I'm looking, that's it, I'm reading, I can read. I ain't all that smart, but I can read. The new 2015 Miss Universe is, I wear an IBF in my ear. It's 2 names on the card. He says, say the second name, hold. Now, Miss Columbia. Great job, Steve. Go in the back. Set up for the close. I go in the back. 2 minutes later, the stage manager comes to me and goes, Steve, you said the wrong name. Who are you talking to? He said, Steve, you said the wrong name. I didn't say the wrong name. I read the teleprompter, then I read the name on the card. I read it. It's right there. It said Miss Columbia. It ain't 2 of them, it's just 1. He said, but they put a 3rd name on the card. It was under your thumb. I said, wait a minute. We've been repracticing all week with just 2 names. Who put the 3rd name on the card? When was y'all gonna tell me? He said, don't worry about it. We'll straighten it out tomorrow in the newspaper. I said, oh, no. I go out here now. Because my father raised me to be a man of honor. That when you make a mistake, you have to own up to it. So I said, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to tell them now. because the winner was really Miss Philippines. Miss Philippines was the winner. I said, Miss Columbia, it's a mistake, I go out. I said, I made a huge mistake. My wife was on the third row. I saw her face. My son was sitting next to her. I saw them, they looked so hurtful. It was the worst mistake in television. So I said, I'm sorry, but this is the mistake that was made. I said, it was my fault. Negativity, you can protect yourself from negativity. And that's what stops most people, negative thought. You can coat your mind from negativity. It's a real simple exercise to do. I do it every morning before I walk out the door. So I walk out as a positive person. You know, I get tired sometimes. That's different from being negative because I get mentally drained from my job at times. But to coach your mind from negativity, the way you can put a coating around your mind is with one simple thing, gratitude. Gratitude erases negativity. I'm gonna show you how this works. If you wake up in the morning, you start having negative thoughts, man, this ain't my day. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm tripping, I just don't feel myself. Every time you feel, in the middle of the day, if you feel yourself doing that, stop, just stop for a second and start going over in your mind everything you have to be grateful for. Not everything you want, everything you already have. Because what you have is substantial. You just haven't gone over the list and taken inventory in a long time. But the fact that you can walk, that's a blessing. The fact that you woke up, that's another blessing. The fact that you can see, think, reason, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go somewhere and get yourself something to eat, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go and turn the key and call someplace home, that's another blessing. The ability to dream is a blessing. The fact that you have an opportunity to get it right is another blessing. The fact that you're beautiful, that's another blessing. The fact that you have any measure of health, that's another blessing. And I'm just talking to you, I don't even know you. I could give you 50 things you ought to be grateful for right now. I don't even know you. Start coating your mind with gratitude. It'll change everything for you.
So today's message is about thinking. There's some stats you need to know. Number one is, average person, you and I have about 75,000 thoughts a day rattling around in this thing we call our brains and our minds. 75,000 of them. The crazy thing is 91% of those thoughts are identical to the previous day and are identical to the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. And then we wonder why our life seems to repeat itself over and over again. So really the difference in our life, if we have 75,000 thoughts a day, here's the crazy thing, 91% of them are exactly the same. The separation in our life is in those 9% of their thoughts, because remember this, these magnets are pretty powerful. That's why I'm always saying that your obsessions become your possessions, because they do. You draw into your life exactly what it is you think about. It's a physical reality that you attract to yourself what you think about. So the difference in our life is 9% of our thoughts. That's why people say all the time the difference between winning and losing is so small, it's almost too scary to talk about. And really, we've identified what it is. It's 9% of what we think about alters the direction of our life. So what I'm here to tell you today is you've got to hone in and get aware of what you think about and then alter those 9% of the thoughts that are variable on a daily basis to serve you. Because if you don't, these thoughts become like viruses. They're viruses in our mind. What happens in a computer when it gets a virus? It slows down. It becomes sluggish. It doesn't function at its optimal level. Same thing with our thinking. If we don't get those 9% of our thoughts to serve us, our lives go in a completely different direction. So remember this. You don't see things in your life as they are. You see things in life as you are. And so the more you alter you, the more you begin to see things differently. What's is amazing about this is we control who we are by what we think about. Think about this just for a second. Wherever you're sitting watching this, the chair that you're sitting in, if you're sitting in a chair, if you're driving in a car and you're listening to this, that seat you're in started in someone's mind as a thought, right? Every detail of it, the fabric, the cushions, the way it's structured, every single piece of that started in someone's mind as a thought and then became a reality by putting out the pieces together. See, everything in life is that way as well. It always begins with a thought. When we think a new thought, here's what literally happens. Thinking a new thought literally opens a space up in our minds, in our lives, that never existed before prior to having that thought. It's like a brand new space you've created just by thinking it. And what happens is your unconscious and subconscious mind goes to work on filling in that space with the people, places, resources, and things to fill it up like a room and an architect would, to fill up that space and fully furnish it. That's the power of how we think. So literally everything that exists started as a thought in someone's mind and then became a material matter. And so you've got to begin to think about the things you want to materialize in your life on a regular basis and think about it repetitiously. Literally the things that we obsess about become the things that we possess in our lives. Most people, those variable 9% of the thoughts is the new thing they're worried about, the new fear they have, the new response to an email they have to make, and they never dictate the terms. Remember this, your mind is a weapon. And you got to begin to use it and pick that weapon up and control it. Most people are out of control with their mind. They don't point it at something. They let the world point it, and they misfire all the time. So today, I want you to pick up that weapon that is your mind and begin to point it at the things you want, knowing that it's a magnet that draws to you the things in your life that you would most like to have or that you would most not like to have. And that's where most people make the mistakes in their life. So today I want you to begin with first taking an inventory of the thoughts you have that don't serve you. And I want you to write them down. And I want you to eliminate them. Step one, write down the thoughts that don't serve you and eliminate them. How do I eliminate them? By replacement. You eliminate them with replacement, by thinking a new thought. It's as simple as saying, what thought would I need to have that would serve me to get this goal or dream or vision that I have? And get that thought, write it down, repeat it over and over and over and over again. Because there's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system.
But I think that's good advice. Don't be a follower, be a student, right? Take advice, but not orders. Take information, but don't let somebody, order your life. Make sure what you do is the product of your own conclusion. Excellent note to make. Make sure what you do is the product of your own conclusion. Not to do what someone else says. Take what someone else says, process it, think about it, ponder it. If it makes you wonder, if it makes you think, then it's valuable. Then when you go take action, make sure that the action is not what somebody told you to do. Make sure the action is the product of your own conclusion. If you'll follow just a little bit of those simple guidelines, I'm telling you, the learning process can be speedy, swift, powerful. Your learning curve can go up, and then applying it to your business, your life, your family, conversations, equities of all kinds. You'll find some progress like I did that first 5 years when I met a teacher willing to share with me, turn my life around. Progress I couldn't believe happened for me. Okay, let's get started. I want to review, I was here last time and we talked about the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. And I just want to review those because it lays such a good foundation for all the rest that I want to share with you today. We got a lot of subjects to cover, so we're going to go rather swiftly, okay? Put on your mental track shoes here and run with me today, because I'm going to deal mostly in concepts. Expect you to, fill in a lot of the details, because I've got a lot to share. I want to get through it all. But let's lay this foundation again of the 5 major pieces. Happens to be the title of my latest book, but I think it is so valuable in laying a foundation. It's some of the things I learned between ages 25 and 30. The teacher who taught me so well. He dealt in these fundamentals, we call these. Fundamentals. We call these basics. Basics for sports, fundamentals for sports, fundamentals for your business, fundamentals for the way you deal with your family. A few simple things, a few basic things that if you practice every day can make all the difference in the world, how it works out. I boiled it down to 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. Let's just review those. Number 1 is philosophy. Philosophy, as I taught the last time I was here, philosophy, in my personal opinion, is the major determining factor in how your life works out. Philosophy, the major determining factor in how your life works out. Philosophy. To form our philosophy, you got to think, got to use your mind, got to process ideas. And this whole process over a lifetime, starting way back here when we were children, schools that we've attended, our parents, our experiences, all this stuff that we've processed by the thinking process helps to develop our philosophy. And in my opinion, each person's personal philosophy is the major factor in how your life works out. Here's what I called it in that last presentation when I was here. It's called the set of the sail. Each person's personal philosophy is like the set of the sail. Now, I used to think it was circumstances that ordered my life. If someone would have asked me at age 25, Mr. Rohn, how come you're not doing well? Pennies in your pocket, creditors calling, nothing in the bank, behind on your promises to your family, you live in America, 25 years old, got a beautiful family, every reason to do well, and things are not going that well for you. What is wrong here? It would not have occurred to me to blame my philosophy. I mean, it would not have occurred to me. Saying, well, I got this lousy philosophy, and that's how come I got pennies in my pocket and nothing in the bank. Things aren't working well. That would not have occurred to me. I found it much easier to blame the government. Much easier to blame the tax problem. I used to say taxes are too high. Top tax rate when I first started paying tax, 91%. Back then, when your income reached a certain level, all your income over that, 91%. So I used to say that's too high. Now, the top tax rate's about 33%. But people are still saying what? Taxes are too. See, but you can't use that anymore. If it's gone from 91 to 33, how could it be too high? Come on. I threw all that old excuse stuff away. Some people found it, though, and they're my old list. I used to blame the traffic, the weather, used to blame circumstances, right? People say I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too old. I was raised in obscurity, raised on a farm, parents of modest means, all the stuff. If you were to ask me, how come you find yourself here, Mr. Rohn, age 25, living in America, land of abundance and opportunity, pennies, zero in the bank, not doing well, creditors calling, it would not have occurred to me to blame my philosophy. I found it easier to blame the company policy. I used to say, if this is all they pay, how do they expect you to do well? So I figured that, my future was going to be tied to what everybody else was arranging, the economy and, right, interest rates. I used to say things cost too much. That was my whole explanation, not my philosophy, until my teacher taught me better that this is where the problem was, my own personal philosophy. Here's what's exciting about each person's personal philosophy. That's what makes us different than dogs and animals and birds and cats and spiders and alligators. That's what makes us different than all other life forms. The ability to think, the ability to use your mind, the ability to process ideas, and not just operate by instinct. In the winter, I'm telling you, the goose can only fly south. What if south doesn't look too good? Tough luck. It can only fly south. But see, human beings are not like a goose, can only fly south. I mean, you can turn around, go north, you can go east, you can go west, you can order the entire process of your own life. And we do that by the way we think. We do that by exercising our mind.
Enjoy that part of your life. Fashion it and enjoy it. Take an hour, take a couple of hours, take an evening, and go soak up the symphony, soak up the music. And when you do this, with family, with culture, lifestyle, here's what happens. Number one, you can enjoy it. It's a spendable commodity. But here's the most exciting part of all. The feelings you get from here. The coin, the currency, the worth and the value you get from fashioning a happy life, fashioning a conversation with a child, fashioning a love experience. A good marriage is not a marriage that's left to the wind. It must be well woven. A friendship must be well constructed. A cultured life must be well woven, well constructed. A love affair must be well woven. I'm telling you, all of these values that come from lifestyle, and nobody can engage in the art of lifestyle better than Herbalife distributors, Mark Hughes being one of the best. Better to live in a tent on the beach, be in love, than to live in a mansion by yourself. But now here's the last part. This is the most exciting. Not only can a well-fashioned lifestyle experience be enjoyed, here's the powerful part. It can be invested. It can be invested. Because here's what really happens. You take lifestyle, all those values, all the coin, all the currency of lifestyle, and you invest it. This feeling here helps you to now, drives you to do the better study. Why? This whole cycle keeps coming around. Philosophy, attitude, disciplines create lifestyle. Lifestyle inspires you to go back, develop an even better philosophy, stronger attitude, more detailed disciplines. All of that helps you to produce lifestyle. And if you fashion this well, love affair, marriage, culture, evening, weekend, all of this good stuff now, that inspires you now to read, study and grow, develop your philosophy, strengthen your attitude, pick up the disciplines. This whole cycle, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it once you understand how to live this way.
Bad times. But I don't have bad days anymore, and it's not BS. It's because I've trained myself like an athlete to go in these peak states so often that they're just natural for me. It's like building a muscle. So it's not like I'm so smart or I'm just so positive. It's just like, why would I waste my time stressing out? I have a 90-second rule. I'll stress for 90 seconds, but stress is not going to solve it. Let me put myself back in a different state. And so the way I do that is I use my body. Because I've done this with athletes for decades, with billionaire businessmen. If you see somebody gets in a slump of some sort, great athlete, Paul Tudor Jones, one of the greatest financial traders in the history of the world, I've coached him for 22 years. When I came to see him, this is a man who made 200% in 1987 when the stock market had its biggest single crash in a day, percentage-wise still. He made 200% for his clients, more money than anybody could dream of. Then he went to the moon and he went down to Earth and then he lost money. So I was brought in to turn him around. Well, how do you turn a guy like that around? Yeah. I watched him. His shoulders were down. He was breathing like this. He's sitting like this the whole time because he'd been through these failures and it started to get stored in his body. Now, in this state, this man is a genius, couldn't do it. So I watched films when he was at his best. And he's like standing up and he's doing this. He's this, what to do, sell this, make this happen. And the movement, the intensity, the way he used his face. And so I showed him a video of himself today. I showed him a video when he was at his best. And I said, what do you notice? He was like, those are two different people. I said, yes. But we can get back to this guy by just using the body first. Trying to use your mind, you'll go in circles. But I've been teaching for years that a radical change in your body instantly changes your biochemistry. 38 years I've taught it. 2 years ago at Harvard, they did a study, scientifically proven what I've been teaching all these decades, where they call it power posture.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman stance.
Yeah, standing like Wonder Woman or Superman for 2 minutes.
Yep.
Or like you see guys like this, pulled back like that for 2 minutes. Literally increases your testosterone in your biochemistry within 2 minutes by 20%. It drops cortisol by 18%, which is the stress hormone, and increases your chance of taking a more risky behavior, which is what's required of a leader, by 33%. 2 minutes. Now that's just standing a certain way. I show people use their voice, their body, their movement, which is 10 times more dynamic than just a stiff stance. And when you change your state, your mental, emotional state, you change your performance. Haven't you had times when you have can't remember how to spell a difficult word like the, or your own email
really
or something
tired,
like that?
Can't remember
like what
your
it is.
Cousin's name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you've had times where you're in the flow where after you do something, you're like, I did that. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
Absolutely.
I was in the flow. Well, you're the same person. The only difference is state. So training yourself to be in a peak state every day. I mean, you think about like a great businessman. Think of a great entertainer like Elton John has been around in rock and roll for what, 40, how many years is it? 40 years?
70s, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling. And most people still like some sample of his music. Well, he's got to have days when he gets up to entertain when he thinks, if you make me sing that Daniel song one more time, I'm going postal, right? But he never does. Every single time he's in that same beautiful state. That's not because he's naturally like that. He's trained himself to do that. Like a great athlete trains himself. That's what leaders have to do. The state of the union, the state of the company is the culture. And the culture starts at the head. Whoever that leader is, their state impacts everybody else. So training yourself to be in that peak state is the key to it all. I think ferocity spirit is critical for everybody, but we all have it. It's like a muscle.
Do we all have it?
Yeah, we do. Courage unused, though, becomes weaker. Determination unused gets smaller. Passion unexpressed gets smaller. It's like any muscle, the more you use it. And he's been using it for years. His son, though, here's the other thing. He had a reason larger than himself. You see the pattern in all the people that have overcome. He wanted to do for his son. At the time, he told me about his worried about all his employees, and he really cares about his people. But here's the secret, though. You have to make that shift where it's no longer an excuse. If you give yourself an excuse, humans will take it. If you're going to take the island, you burn the boats. And he burned the boats and said, I'm going to find the answer. First, he shifted his psychology, came to my business mastery program, and then he got the skills. Because like I said earlier, it's not just confidence. You got to have skill, and he had both, and he found the way. Show them what you did.
Yeah, after that particular business mastery program, again, as Tony says, 80% of it is psychology, and then 20% of it is mechanics or the strategies.
Yeah.
But unless you get the psychology down, the mechanics don't matter. And I can tell you from that day in November of 2008 where I made that decision that I was not going to fail, and I kissed my lady and said, I'm going back to work. And we went out there and I learned how to export. And when there was no market for steel in the United States, I was able to export to several different companies or several different countries. And we took off from there. We continued to grow. And it was just, again, it's about a mindset. It's about having a level of pride. For me, it was coming from where I come from. The Melio name didn't mean a whole heck of a lot. And I was determined to change that because it's something of what I call generational influence. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my son.
The other thing you should do if you're not very industrious is discipline yourself. And so what do you do with that? Eat 3 times a day at regular meal times. That's a good thing to practice. because that starts to put some stability into your life. Get up at the same time. I would highly recommend all those young people out there who are listening, like, you want to get a jump on life, get the hell out of bed in the morning. You know, as I've got older, I've got up earlier and earlier. Now, that's partly because you don't need as much sleep, but it's also partly because I've got more and more disciplined. Like, get up early in the morning and get your things done. Man, learn to get up at 6 in the morning and you'll be one deadly creature, especially if you can get to work. You'll have half your damn day done by the time other people haul their sorry asses out of bed.
How many of you feel like your mind is always on? Like you're worrying about the past or you're anxious about the future? How many of you feel like your mind controls you? If you said yes to any of those questions, I want you to stay tuned as I share this concept from my book, Think Like a Monk. Hey everyone, my name's Jay Shetty and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now I know you've experienced this. You wake up in the morning, ready to start the day early, but your mind makes you press that snooze button. You decide you're gonna be really, really healthy, but your mind makes you break that promise and then makes you feel guilty for it afterwards. Or the best yet, your mind has focused on preparing for this interview, but reminds you of all of your flaws, mistakes, and rejections just before you walk inside. How many of you have experienced any of these things before? So let me tell you a personal story. I remember once trying to give up chocolate fudge cake. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but for those of you who know me well, you know that I have a massive sweet tooth and I absolutely love chocolate cake. So this was already going to be difficult. But now, as soon as I'd made that commitment, every time I walked past a bakery or a cake shop, I literally felt like that cake was staring at me and there was a voice in my head that said, buy me now, eat me. I mean, I know I sound psycho right now, but it's true, right? We have that feeling as soon as you make that commitment to yourself that you're going to have a healthy diet, you're going to start working out, whatever it may be, we're triggered almost in the opposite direction by our own mind. How does that happen? Why does it happen? And how do we overcome it is what I want to share with you today. To explain this, we first have to understand the difference between the monkey mind, which we're talking about right now, and the monk mind. So the monkey mind is always jumping from branch to branch. It's always looking for the next pleasure or that instant gratification. It's always looking for the short-term win. It's the part of us that complains, compares, and criticizes. But the monk mind is focused on the root of the issue. The monk mind is focused on discipline and long-term gain. Instead of being comparing, complaining, and criticizing, the monk mind is calm, composed, collaborative, caring, and compassionate. So if we want to make that transformation and that switch, we have to understand how the mind works. And I'm going to show you how the Bhagavad Gita talks about this conversation that we all experience in our minds between the mind and the intelligence. Now, how many times have you ever woke up in the morning and had that conversation in your head? There's one voice that says, go back to sleep. You've had a really tough week. You've been working so hard. And there's another voice that says, this is going to be the start of a great week. You've had enough rest. Now's the time to get up and you're going to perform at the highest level. This is a conversation between the mind and the intelligence. The mind is the monkey mind. The intelligence is the monk mind. The monkey mind just wants to sleep, be lazy, lethargic, and not focus on getting proper rest. You probably were forced by that monkey mind to stay up the night before and watch a show till 2 a.m. anyway. The monk mind wants you to have a proactive start to the day, proactive start to the week. So here's what's happening. We have 5 senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. Now, all of these have different triggers. So if we think about food, you see good food, right? Or let's say you see junk food, you smell that junk food, you know what that junk food tastes like. You don't hear junk food, I don't think anyway. And as soon as that happens, there's a response that goes straight to your mind. Now, what happens in your mind, and as you can see, this is a very accurate drawing of what your mind really looks like inside. But this area of your mind, it reminds you of your past experiences you've had. So when you see those fries, you smell those fries, you see those fries, you touch those fries, it sends a response to your mind. Your mind knows what those fries taste like. It remembers the last time you had them and how good they felt, and straight away goes, yeah, let's have them. And so the mind goes, sure, let's go and plan and create, and now we have those. Now we start to eat that. And that is a recurring habit and cycle in our life. It happens from everything from food that's bad for us, to toxic relationships, through to making bad career decisions. The simple act of reminding ourselves of a positive experience with someone or something allows us to continue that repetition. But now we all know this. We all know that discipline is a core pillar in success. We all know that being able to resist the urges of the mind can help us be more focused.